There is so much that's been going on in the past 24 hours. Let's go ahead and just jump right into it. First off, MicroStrategy. I don't know if you guys saw this during the overnight hours. Not everyone has access to it, so not everyone saw it. But during overnight hours on Webull, it looks like it found its support at $224 per share. Imagine that. Do you guys remember just a few months ago, this thing was trading at $543? So a huge retracement, now testing the moving average. There's a lot that we need to talk about, but I'm not going to be so focused or fixated on the trades that I'm taking. I'm actively shorting MicroStrategy right now. I understand that for beginners, that's not a focus. It's too risky, and a lot of people right now are preparing to see if markets begin to recover. And that's the question that I really want you to ask yourself is, instead of what I'm doing or what this individual is doing, is what makes sense or most sense for you. So why is the market dropping? I'm sure a lot of you guys saw the NASDAQ market retraced. I don't want to say we called it out because we can't call out anything, but we definitely did prepare for this. We talked about Trump's tariffs, and as long as he continues to leverage them, the market will continue to react in a negative way. And yesterday, we saw tariffs being introduced about China. It was a 10% tariff, as well as the US and UK. This was a 25% tariff that was pretty much presented a few days ago. And that was the initial reason on why the market began to turn. Now, again, this shouldn't be a surprise. Since the beginning, even before Trump was even, actually the president, during his president elect, he introduced the ideas of these tariffs. So I don't know why people believed or thought that the markets were going to continue to skyrocket and see no negative influence or catalyst due to these tariffs. These tariffs mean that in the short term, it's going to cause some pain, and you need to understand that, which is why we were not surprised by these tariffs. But just like we saw with Mexico and with Canada, if he postpones these tariffs, or Trump signals that the US and the UK could reach a real trade deal without tariffs, again, that would be huge news. It could potentially be the catalyst that the market would need for the markets to recover. So I want to make this super simple for you to understand. Is the market going to go down, or is the market going to go up? We don't know indefinitely. All we know is that as long as Trump continues to introduce these tariffs and leverage them, the markets tend to react in a negative way. So understand that. Understand that that's always going to be a factor. If he continues to negotiate with them, which again, this is the beginning of his 4-year term, he most likely will, and it's been somewhat in his benefit in the short term, right? Where markets do end up recovering, but it does create some short-term pain, which then kind of brings me back to the idea that if you believe that markets are oversold and possibly a good deal, I don't want to talk about, these stocks that I'm shorting or these high-risk stocks. Let's talk about one of the most valuable companies that's publicly traded. I mean, if you look at the actual numbers, this is NVIDIA, and this is not a recommendation. I'm just reminding you that you don't need to trade the riskiest stocks to make money in this market. That if you're able to put yourself in a good position at a good price, and you believe markets are going to recover or they're indicating signs of recovery, your job is to prepare, not to predict. Like NVIDIA. From highs of 153 to lows of 118, I think it hit 118, 117. It dropped about 23 to 24%. That's a significant drop on a multi-trillion-dollar company. Now, what happens if it begins to recover? Well, currently, again, it's not that it has to recover right now, but if it does, if he postpones these tariffs, if the tariff fear begins to no longer get worse, then markets can begin to recover as they've been more bullish than bearish, and they offer about a 25% of potential recovery. Now again, there's no such thing as a perfect trade. You might not capture the full 25%, but even if you capture 10 or 15% of that, I want to remind you our job is not to pretend to try to be perfect, but at an effort to get in when it makes sense and to sell when we believe that the exit would actually make sense as well. Not to be greedy or not to try to make every penny out of every single trade you choose to take. Again, I want to share that idea because I think as everyone continues to present different stocks that you need to buy right now, we need to understand first the why, that things can get worse before they get better. No one can predict the future. But the second thing is, instead of overcomplicating your trading or your investing with a bunch of different stocks, how much easier would it be for you if all you focused on was one? one really good stock, you create a trade plan of where you're going to buy, where you're going to sell, and how much you're going to buy, and maybe in those increments. So once and if the opportunity does present itself, you have a plan of action, right? I would rather be prepared than to be surprised. But if the market continues to sell off and your criteria is never met, then guess what? All you have to do is wait for your criteria to be met, and then you can choose to take action. Again, in this market full of chaos, learn to implement structure. So I'm very excited to follow up. I just wanted to come on in here, share why the markets were dropping, and not provide you reassurance because we do not know if markets are going to get better. But again, if they do continue to then implement these, what do you want to call them? Substitutions instead of tariffs, then markets can recover because the initial reason on why they're selling off is because of these tariffs. So again, do not be surprised. This was something that we were all expecting, and this is a great reminder of why you should never be afraid to take profits at overbought levels. I appreciate your time. I hope that earned your thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. And again, if you ever want to watch me trade live, it's going to be the second link in the description down below. Take care, team.